How flexible are you? I don't mean physically flexible. I mean when you make plans and they don't go the way that you expect them to. How flexible are you with allowing yourself to pivot? Or when you get wildly disoriented, maybe a little lost in the woods, how good are you at reorienting yourself quickly? Welcome to your daily hit of grace and grit, your quick dose of inspiration to kickstart your day. I'm Courtney Townley, and here is today's hit. I asked that question in the intro because the most consistent women I've ever worked with, so women who are really consistent about self-honoring, are not the ones with the most discipline or the most willpower or the most time on their hands. They are really simply the ones who fall off less dramatically and come back more quickly. And that combination is not sort of a gift bestowed to them at birth. It is a very learnable skill. So research on what psychologists call self-regulatory flexibility, the ability to adapt your strategies to changing circumstances rather than rigidly applying the same approach regardless of context, consistently shows this is the strongest predictor of long-term behavior maintenance. Not motivation, not intensity of the commitment, flexibility. A 2015 study published in Psychological Science followed participants over 12 months and found that people who had developed contingency plans for obstacles, meaning if X happens, I will do Y instead, kind of the if-then plan, these people maintained health behaviors significantly more consistently than those who relied on willpower or rigid planning alone. Not because the contingency plan was magic, but because it meant having a plan B when life got disrupted. There was a backup. There was a way to realign. The thread didn't break. And this really is the distinction, I think, between rigidity and commitment, which I think so easily get confused. Just because you're committed doesn't mean you have to be rigid. In fact, I would say if you want to stay committed day in and day out, you need to practice flexibility. So rigidity says that the workout must be 60 minutes every single time you work out, or it doesn't count. Or the meal must be planned, or the day is a write-off. No, commitment says, I'll show up in whatever form today allows, with my goals and values leading the way, but also understanding that I don't always have the same resource availability. And the winds aren't always blowing in the direction to my liking, right? So on the days I have everything, I will give everything. When I have a lot to give, I will give a lot. That version of consistency is sustainable because it is built for real life. Because also, on the days that you have almost nothing to give, you can still give a little something. Right? It's based on real life conditions, not ideal conditions. And again, the women I've worked with who tend to consistently circle back to their own self-care, no matter what the deviation has been, are not ones who live perfect lives. In fact, I would argue they live wildly imperfect lives. But they're living in a way that is very adaptable, very flexible. They've learned to expect disruption. They've learned to expect the curveballs. They plan for them. And they respond to them without making it mean something has gone wrong. So 2 ways this shows up in my work is that every month in my community, I ask my community to consider a power move for the month. Like, where are they specifically focusing their energy to move the needle of progress with their health and well-being this month? And once they've spent some time really considering that, I will ask them to also consider the obstacles that may show up to get in the way of that. And then the third part is once they list the obstacles that might show up, we also consider the strategies for overcoming those obstacles. Again, it's a way of pre-deciding, pre-considering what might be a reason why you can't follow through. Let's deal with that now. So when that thing shows up, we know exactly how to keep following through. The other way this shows up is when I'm on a coaching call and I ask a client specifically what they are committing to between now and the next time we talk. And of course, they'll say with conviction, whatever the thing is. And my closing question is always, now tell me why you're not going to do it. Because we can say anything is a strong commitment. But as soon as they're off the phone, real life is going to show up and give them 1,000 reasons for why they can't do it. And I want them to start premeditating what some of those reasons might be. So this is where so much of, I think, our most useful work lies, is not in necessarily learning how to push harder, but learning how to become more adaptable no matter what life tosses us. That is flexibility, and that is absolutely a skill set worth developing. If this stirred something inside of you, imagine what a whole book of clarity and courage could ignite. The Consistency Code, a midlife woman's guide to deep health and happiness, goes even deeper into the mindset and practices that create real, meaningful change at midlife. Grab your copy today over at theconsistencycode.com and keep the momentum alive.